Okay. Hi, everybody. Hello, volunteer grant reviewers. Thank you so much for volunteering to help United Way with this important work. As many of you guys know, our pathway grants are major investments in our community, and we are not able to make those investments without volunteers to help us with the evaluation process. So thank you very much for volunteering to help us with this. This recording is just meant to provide a little bit of a walkthrough on the evaluation process. The subsection of the evaluation that you will be helping with is what we call the organizational health review. And this asks questions, um, really, a lot of them are about the financial health of the organization, but some of it is also regarding their governance, their staffing, things of that nature. So there are questions that are more at the organizational level, not necessarily about the specific program that is applying for grant funding. So I just wanted to make sure everybody had the opportunity to see the grant portal. This is the online grant portal that we'll be using. So we'll walk through that a little bit. And also we'll have a chance to kind of show you the rubric, the scoring mechanism that we use for this evaluation. It is meant to be highly standardized. That is obviously important. We want this to be an impartial process. We want it to be fair. So using a standardized evaluation tool is essential. Now, for many of these questions that are related to their financial information, we're confident you guys know how to do the math, so we won't walk you through how to do all that. But we will show you kind of on the rubric, the instructions that kind of point to where on the financial documents you can find the data necessary to fill out the formulas to help find the information that we need. So we'll kind of point that out. So just to kind of get started, this is e-Cimpact. This is the online grant portal we use. This is where you will be able to access the grant proposals and all of their supplemental financial documents. This is also where you will submit your evaluation scores. It is all web-based, so you can really log in and do this anywhere you have access to the internet, which is very convenient. I will be sending you a email with the link to this particular website, and everyone will have an account created for them. So account usernames typically follow the convention, first initial, last name. So I'm Margaret Stuckey. M Stuckey is my user account. If is a duplicate or something of that nature, that'll be noted in the email I send you. So you may be, if you're Eric Johnson and there's already an E Johnson, we may slap a number 2 on the end. So just take note of that. For all new volunteers, I set everybody up with the same default password. And I will also note this in my email to you. It is, not Wonder Woman, capital TEST, 1, 2, 3, exclamation point. Test, 1, 2, 3, exclamation point. So go ahead and use that on your very first sign in, and it will immediately redirect you to a page where you can put in your own permanent password. I will just quickly do one now. And then update password, and it should take you straight into your account. So this is what your account will look like when you log in for the first time. Um, Over here under evaluations is where you will need to go to access the grant evaluations. So here you can see these are all of the nonprofits who we are currently evaluating. Also note, there are 13. It only displays 10 by default, so you can change that or just flip to the second page. So here are all the nonprofits we're evaluating. So just to dive in and get started, we'll just kind of pick one at random. Let's see. We'll click on the account name, and this is what it looks like when you are actually entering a grant application. It's all laid out here. in a one continuous scroll. There's also a jump to, so you can navigate to various sections within the proposal. This little click tab over here is where you will enter your scores for on the rubric. So it's just a one-time click to pull it out and enter information, and a one-time click to hide it if you want it out of the way. Another thing I will show you, so I will send you the full rubric in a Word document format. I can actually, let's see. Yeah, so you'll get to see the full rubric laid out nice and easy in a Word document, which is very helpful. But we also have it embedded within the platform. So if you don't have that document with you, or this is just more convenient, just if you don't remember the scoring criteria for this particular item, just hover over this question mark and it'll show you the scoring criteria again. But anyway, so that's kind of the major gist of accessing the platform. I will quickly, let's see, walk you through the items on the rubric. There are 6 items on this rubric. 5 of them are out of our 10-point items, and the last one, which is certainly much more subjective than the others, is a 5-pointer. So the first one is, and this is, we will ask the question, and then we will show you specifically where within the proposal you need to go and to find the pertinent information to answer this question or score this item. So this says the board of directors is actively engaged and supportive of the organization's community impact work. In order to evaluate that criterion, you would go to the organizational information section and review questions 1 through 3. So we're already at the organizational information section or form. It's the governance section. So scroll to the governance section. Yes. And questions 1, 2, and 3. And you can see on the scoring criteria either here, I can scroll, that'll display better. It shows we have, we want to see board attendance rates of 75% or higher, board contributing financially 90% or more, board volunteering their time 90% or more. Well, you can see over here their rates. So looks like by our criteria, they're getting, a 10 out of 10 on that one. The next one is about staff capacity. So on this one, you can reference the organizational information section and the staffing questions. All of the questions there give you some information. So we'll scroll down on staffing. It's also helpful in this section, reading this little narrative at the bottom might give you a little bit of additional context regarding their staffing. So this will show you their current staffing and a little bit of historical staffing data. You can also reference, there are sections on their 990s that tell you about their employment over time. So if you want to, I'll show you in a minute how to reference their 990s, but you can find that information there as well. So I'm not going to go through and do all the math on these, but our criteria is we want to see, the organization's headcount is growing, and they're not turning over more than 20% of their headcount over time. Also note that red line, if they have a very small headcount, if it's, 5 full-time employees or fewer, we kind of give them a pass on the, percentage turnover criteria because the percent is going to be really skewed because it's such a small organization. So we can just give them a pass. And then you can see the lower point criterion, maybe the headcount is flat, that's lower point value. Maybe they've turned over a little bit more of the organization percentage wise. 0-point value, oof, they're shrinking. It's not looking good. So I'm not, yeah, gonna just look through, but let's say on this one they were a 5. Okay, now here, number three, this is where we get into actually referencing the organization's 990s. So this is information that we're going to specifically pull from their financial documents. It is not anywhere in their written proposal. So the organization has appropriate liquid reserves. And here, note, we will give you very specific directions on how to calculate that. For this one, we're only going to look at the most recent 990. For some of the candidates, they were able to submit their 2023 990. For some of them, they've told us they just didn't have that available, so they've submitted 22. You're going to have to look and see what each particular candidate has available. But in order to find those, what you will do is come up here to the Supporting Documents tab, and you will see the various forms that they have uploaded. They've also been asked to upload their most recent audited financial statement. That is just kind of for you to review as an additional context or information, especially if you see things that start to look fishy on the other questions. Looking at their audited statement might be helpful. But if everything looks smooth sailing on the other questions, it's not absolutely necessary that you review their audit. So here you can just, I won't download all of these, but you would have the opportunity to download each of these and look at them. Again, for item number 3, we just need to look at the most recent one, and we will calculate the amount of cash reserves they have. And then the scoring criteria on this, full credit, we would say we'd like to see organizations that have between 3 and 6 months of cash reserves. For partial, that 5-point credit, maybe it's, a little bit lower than that, between 1 and 3. That's partial credit, could be a little too small. Or it's a little bit above that, maybe up to 9 months. Okay, partial credit. Maybe that's a little bit mu too much. Uh maybe you're stockpiling money a little bit more than you need to be. Um, if it's less than 1 month or more than 9 months, those are ones that we really want to call out. If they have less than 1 month of reserves, cash reserves, I would make sure that you score this as a 0 and make a comment in the comment section that this is a red flag. This is a potential, just eliminate this candidate. They may be too risky for us to fund. Or if it's because they have over 9 months of reserves, um, it may not be we want to eliminate them, but we may just want to have a follow-up conversation. There may be a good reason why they're sitting on so much cash rather than reinvesting it into the community. Maybe they're in the middle of a capital campaign, or maybe a lot of that is restricted for a specific purpose. So it would just be helpful if we asked follow-up questions on that. So if you're seeing extreme scores on this one, please make note of that so we can ask follow-up questions. Number 4, again, this is going to be pulled off the 990s, and this is where we start to try to calculate for a trend. We'd like to look at the past 3 years of 990s. Now, as I said, our ideal would be to have 2023, 22, 21. Some people were not able to submit that. So some people just have 22, 21, and 2020. We're working with what we got. So the criteria is they are responsibly aligning expenses with revenue. We want to see them kind of co-varying. If they're not co-varying, what's up with that? We kind of want to understand that. So this will give you the kind of formula. It references the specific field, section and field to pull the data off from the 990 and the calculation that you will use. And then again, you'll do that on each of the 3 most recent 990s and sort of note the trend. And the scoring criteria, if everything is kind of status quo, the ratio between expenses to revenue is consistent. They're really not varying more than 10% year over year. Okay, full points were cool. That shows that, the ratio is not, it's changing that much. That means you're scaling appropriately. You're expanding your spending with expanded income, or you're shrinking your spending with, shrunken revenue. So that's all good. Um, if we see the ratio, that ratio of expenses to income is decreasing moderately, so we give them grace for that first 10%. But if it's 11 to 24%, okay, if it's decreasing that much, maybe that means they're kind of stockpiling money. They're maybe bringing more money in, but not necessarily increasing their spending to spending to the community, or, or otherwise. So, and then same thing with the increase, they could be potential, maybe they're increasing their spending, but they're not increasing their revenue. So that might show, okay, that's not sustainable. So that would be sort of uh, a lesser point value. And again, for the 0 point, it's really the exact same logic as the midpoint. It's just if you see more extreme versions of that, so greater than 25% change in that ratio. So that's the logic there. Number 5. And again, this is one where we'll do it for the 3 years of 990s. We want to see organizations that prioritize their community impact work. And when we first put together this rubric, a reviewer asked me, well, gosh, Margaret, you don't ask about administrative expense on here at all. And I said, well, but we ask about direct service work, and they're really two sides of the same coin. Spending is either, for the most part, one or the other. And so if you ask about the direct service work and you know their totals, then you can kind of infer the other. So that's really what we're doing here. We shows you the exact field to pull off the 990 that will show you their total program related spending and all of their kind of total expenses. And then again, we find that ratio percentage and look at it over the last 3 years. And let's see if we can display that. And so then, yeah, it's really similar logic to kind of the previous item of the last 3 years. If the total expenses have increased and services have increased proportionally, then we know that they're prioritizing expanding their community impact work over expanding administration, because we're just looking at the program spending. Or if the program expenses and the total expenses have remained consistent, not more greater than 10% change, then that's all good, full credit. Again, that mid-range score, if the total expenses have decreased more than 10%, but the program services are flat, or if they've increased, this would show that their administrative costs have been reduced and they're not reducing service to the community. Well, you could say that that's a good thing. They're certainly prioritizing their service to the community. However, this just might not be sustainable. So it's certainly not full points. It's more of a mid-points score. And then the final, lowest points value is if total expenses have increased, yet program expenses have remained flat or decreased. This shows that they're getting a little fat with their administrative costs, and that's probably not what we want. They are prioritizing administrative costs over growing their program services, and that is not a good look. So that would be the kind of red flag response. I would maybe call that out in the comments, because we'd maybe want to ask a follow-up question like, why are you doing that? Or maybe there is some reason why that was necessary, but we would really want to understand that more before we'd feel comfortable funding an organization like that. So that's kind of the last of the heavily financial questions. And then this last one, and I don't, since it's the bottom of the page, I don't think it'll display well. This is last one. Yeah, it doesn't display very well. This is where we jump back to the actual proposal and we review their narrative regarding their funding request. So you can hop, and you're welcome to read, as much of the proposal as you would like if you're curious. But you can hop to, goodness, the spending and request narratives. I'll take you right where you need to go. Oh, it's all in my way. And you can see there are three narratives here. It is the, spending plan, and just in the above section, it'll show you their full, their spending request, and then the actual kind of like spending plan. You asked for $240,000. How will you break down that spending? So you can see precisely how they intend to use that spending or that funding. And then here we kind of just ask for it in narrative form. Explain how you're going to use the money. Number two is like the kind of strategic purpose of the funding. Is your investment from United Way going to help you? It's really going to help you do a few things. Either you're going to scale, you're going to deepen quality, or you're just trying to keep your lights on. Or maybe it's some mix of all of those things. Maybe you're going to scale a little bit and also invest in some quality improvements. Maybe it's a mix. So we would kind of want to understand that here. If you're just trying to remain status quo and fund what you're currently doing, typically our board doesn't look real favorably on that, but it's important for us to understand. And last but not least, we are very clear that this is not forever funding. So we want to understand your sustainability plan. So these are all narratives. And let's see, I'll come down here and show you oh no, I hope my internet is not flaking. Okay. Hopefully that didn't destroy. I just had a little internet glitch there. Hopefully that did not destroy this recording. Um, let's see. And hopefully my computer will work. Okay. So, yep, in the rubric you can see there are criteria for, that you can apply when reading those scoring criteria you can apply when reading those narratives. This is by far the most subjective of the score of the items on the rubric. And because of that, you can see it's just worth fewer points. So that one's only out of 5. So that's really, in a nutshell, the entire evaluation process. I'm just going to go in and like fill in dummy scores here, and I can go back and erase these later. But just so you can see, once you have, whoops, filled in all your scores, it will allow you to say, if you want to come back to it later, you can say save my work. Or if you're done, you can say save my work and mark as complete. And when you hit that mark as complete button, it will give you a red submit now button. Go ahead and hit submit. Everything turns green. You've submitted. It looks great. And then when you navigate here, if you come up here to my assigned evaluations, it'll take you back to your main screen, and you'll see that one we just did shows the total score you gave it, and it has that status of submitted. These other ones, for instance, if we came in here and we maybe got started, but we weren't able to finish it, it would say, okay, well, you started that one. That one's in progress. It hasn't been evaluated yet. So that is really the whole shebang. Obviously, our goal, we have 13 proposals in total. our goal is to get, enough volunteers so we can kind of divide and conquer these and get multiple eyes on each of them. I don't expect that all volunteers will complete all 13 reviews, but we'll certainly take your help on as many of them as you are able to assist with. So again, I think that's really more or less covers everything that we needed to discuss today. If you have any other questions or things that you wanted to talk through or things that were not clear, please feel free to reach out to me via email. And once again, thank you very much for volunteering with United Way.